Ah, so you felt it too, didn't you? That itch under your skin, that hume in your bones that something's shifting. You've been walking the same road, same cracks in the pavement, same shadows chasing your heels, and suddenly the air feels heavier, like the universe is holding its breath. Funny thing, how everything around you keeps looking the same, but inside it's a riot, a slow, crawling chaos whispering, "This ain't it anymore." But of course you ignore it, dress it up as boredom or stress or just a phase. Cute, real cute. As if your soul hasn't been kicking the walls, screaming at you to look up, pay attention. All right, you want the chaos wrapped in clarity, the scream tucked inside a whisper, the warning dressed as a smile. So here we go. One foot in the familiar, one toe dipped in madness, where everything you've ever known starts to itch under the skin like it doesn't belong there anymore. See when your daily routine begins to feel like a straitjacket? When your friends start to sound like noise and your laughter tastes hollow? That's not burnout. It's a silent knock on a locked door. The problem? Most people keep pretending they don't hear it. They crank up the volume of life just to drown out the whisper that says, something's off. Everything looks the same, but nothing feels right. You wake up, brush your teeth, eat your breakfast, check your phone, ding, ding, dopamine hit. And yet, there's a splinter in your brain, a tiny voice humming a funeral song for your current life. It's subtle. It doesn't scream. It creeps. It poisons your joy with just enough doubt to make you question if this is all there is. That's not depression. That's not confusion. That's a celestial disturbance, a divine glitch in your matrix. A little note slipped under your consciousness that says this chapter is done. But instead of turning the page, you sit there staring at the period, waiting for it to become a comma. You start to hate things you used to love. You scroll through your past like an old playlist and none of the songs hit anymore. You go to the places that once made your heart race and now they feel like tombstones with your name on them. Your job starts feeling like a waiting room. Your city smells like a lie. Your mirror starts asking questions your mouth can't answer. But instead of accepting that the map has changed, you hold it up to the sky, hoping the stars will rearrange themselves to fit your old destination. They won't. Stars don't negotiate with fear. And it gets worse. The more you ignore it, the louder it gets. Not in sound, but in discomfort. People you loved start fading like old photographs. Conversations turn into monologues. Laughter feels like performance. You start rehearsing your emotions like lines in a bad play. Because deep down, you know the act is over, but you're still wearing the costume. And every time you look in the mirror, you don't recognize the character you're pretending to be. So you distract yourself with work, with social media, with validation, with success. You build a castle around your discomfort and decorate it with achievements. But the echo remains, the echo that keeps saying, this isn't it. This isn't you. This isn't home. And every time you lie to yourself to keep things the same, a part of your soul files for divorce. You keep custody of the body, but the spirit, it starts packing its bags. You feel guilty, don't you, for wanting more, for questioning everything that once made sense, for entertaining the idea that maybe, just maybe, the life you built was never meant to last. But guilt is the prison guard of comfort zones. It wants to keep you locked in familiarity because the unknown terrifies it. So it whispers lies like you're being ungrateful or you'll regret leaving. But here's the joke. Staying will cost you more than leaving ever could. And then it happens. A glitch. A moment. A sign. You see something, hear something, read something, and it feels like it was aimed straight at your forehead. You don't know why it hits you the way it does, but suddenly your body reacts like it just heard a secret it was never supposed to know. And everything around you starts unraveling like a cheap thread, not to destroy you, but to release you, because the illusion is breaking. And behind that illusion is your real path, the one with blood, sweat, heartbreak, rebirth, and truth. People won't understand. They'll call it a phase, a breakdown, a crisis. They'll ask why you're throwing it all away, but they weren't awake when the whisper came. They didn't hear the voice in the silence. They didn't feel the cold chill when your soul decided it was done shrinking to fit a life that no longer made sense. You did. You heard it. And now everything familiar feels foreign, not because you're broken, but because you're finally waking up from the dream they told you to love. Of course, you want the truth tucked beneath a grin, don't you? Let's talk about the divine wrecking ball, the slow, creeping demolition of the old self, the version of you that learned how to smile with broken teeth and call it a win, the version of you that performed normal so well you forgot you were acting. People don't get it. Change doesn't knock politely. It shows up like a fire in the attic and waits for you to smell the smoke. Most of you light candles and call it ambiance. You romanticize your suffering, dress it up with filters and quotes, and pretend the ceiling isn't sagging under the weight of all the lies you told yourself just to stay comfortable. But when God's about to flip your world upside down, He doesn't ask for your permission. He doesn't send a polite email. He starts snatching things, not because He's cruel, not because He's bored, but because you got too cozy in your own cage. So the job starts to feel like cement. The relationship starts rotting from the inside. The dreams you thought you buried start clawing their way up like something undead. And everything you thought was stable starts to twitch with instability. It's not bad luck, it's not karma. It's divine disruption, a holy chaos, the kind that turns fake peace into real confrontation. You think it's a breakdown, but it's not. It's a wake-up call, a slap with cosmic fingers. You've been sleeping through your own life, and now the alarms are screaming. But you keep hitting snooze, because facing the truth means admitting the mask never fit in the first place. It means acknowledging that maybe you were never meant to fit in that box you spent years decorating. And that terrifies you, because if you don't know who you are outside of the role you've been playing, then who the hell are you? But the divine doesn't care about your fear. It cares about your becoming. So it starts stripping everything that no longer serves you, piece by piece. It looks cruel from the outside, like some kind of punishment, but what's really happening is excavation. Your soul is digging its way out of the rubble you called stability. And oh, it's messy. You'll cry, you'll scream, you'll bargain, you'll ask for your old life back like a hostage negotiating with the truth. But the truth doesn't negotiate, it waits. It watches. And it keeps unraveling your illusions until you've got no choice but to face yourself in the ruins. People around you won't understand. They'll try to patch up your cracks, hand you glue and tell you to smile. But you're not broken. You're being remade. There's a difference. One demands pity. The other demands fire. And fire doesn't ask for applause. It just burns. It consumes. And it leaves only what's real behind. So yeah, you'll feel like you're losing your mind. You'll lose friends. You'll lose comfort, maybe even your sense of identity. But what you're really losing is the lie, the performance, the version of you that was acceptable to others but unacceptable to your soul. That's the sacrifice, that's the cost. You want transformation? It's not an upgrade, it's an obliteration. You don't get to keep the comfort and the calling. One has to die for the other to live. And most people, they cling to the corpse because they don't have the stomach to bury it. But if you can sit in the fire long enough, if you can survive the shedding, the confusion, the silence, you'll start to notice something. A flicker, a pulse, a whisper in the ashes. Not a voice from above, but from within. And it won't sound like thunder. It'll sound like something ancient remembering itself. That's the real you. The one they couldn't control, the one life tried to domesticate, the one you buried under expectations and fear. It's a resurrection, but not the kind with trumpets and fanfare. This is the kind that happens in the dark, when no one's watching, when you're on your knees, bleeding questions, and all you have is the echo of a God who tore your life apart not to punish you, but to prepare you for what? For the version of you that couldn't exist until the old one died. For the path that required emptiness before it could be filled. For the path that required emptiness before it could be filled. For the next chapter that couldn't be written until you burned the last one to ash. Oh, you're still here. Perfect. Because now we get to talk about something really funny. Silence. Not the quiet kind you get in a library or a graveyard, no. I'm talking about that silence. The one that follows you like a shadow after you pray, scream, beg, cry, and nothing, absolutely nothing, answers back. That aching stillness where you start wondering if God muted the line or just hung up completely. And everyone tells you just have faith like it's some magic spell you chant 3 times and poof, clarity. But what they don't tell you is that silence is part of the message. See, you think silence means absence, but what if it's preparation? What if it's divine tension? The kind that stretches you so thin, you finally snap out of your illusion that you're in control. Oh, how cute, thinking you were ever steering this thing. You weren't driving. You were sitting in the backseat of a car you didn't build, trying to read a map you didn't draw, and yelling at the driver for taking a route you didn't recognize. But guess what? Sometimes silence is the detour. Sometimes silence is the lesson. Sometimes silence is the only way to make you shut up long enough to hear what you've been ignoring all along. Do you ever notice how loud your mind gets when God goes quiet? The thoughts, the doubts, the guilt, the memories, the what-ifs, all of it crawling up your spine like rats in the dark. And you keep trying to swat them away with affirmations and motivational quotes, but it's too late. They're already inside. So you distract yourself, you numb, you scroll, you pretend. But eventually, when the noise dies down, when the distraction loses its taste, you're left with one thing, that damn silence still there, staring back at you like a mirror you can't break. And somewhere in that silence, something starts whispering. Not from the outside, from inside, from beneath the rubble of your ego, your plans, your image. It's subtle, almost imperceptible. It doesn't beg, it doesn't shout, it simply waits. Because truth doesn't chase. It doesn't need to. It already knows it's the only thing real. So while you run in circles, chasing comfort, chasing closure, chasing applause, the truth just sits there, smiling, knowing you'll come back eventually. The silence, it's not punishment, it's not distance, it's transformation. You just don't like the pace. You want instant answers, quick fixes, microwave miracles. But this isn't a drive-through. This is a slow-cooked undoing, a divine dismantling of everything that kept you from seeing the real picture. Because if God answered every prayer on command, you'd never learn to listen. You'd treat the divine like a vending machine. Insert need, receive, miracle. But silence forces you to grow ears beneath your ears, eyes behind your eyes, faith without evidence, trust without proof, and that's where the real madness begins. Because in the absence of clear signs, you start creating your own. You start thinking every coincidence is a message, every delay is a denial, every moment of waiting is wasted. And that's the punchline, isn't it? That your obsession with certainty keeps you from embracing mystery. You want a manual, but life hands you riddles. You want closure, life gives you echoes. And the worst part? You still show up day after day, prayer after prayer, tear after tear, hoping someone, anyone, is listening on the other end. That's the real act of faith, showing up in the silence, bleeding belief into a void, laughing through the unanswered questions. So the next time you sit in that silence, don't rush to escape it. Don't fill it with noise. Don't decorate it with distractions. Let it stretch you. Let it expose you. Let it burn away the version of you that only believed when things made sense. That version was never going to survive where you're headed. That version needed applause. This one learns to dance in the dark, to trust without a script, to walk through fog with open hands. Because that silence, it's not the end. It's the cocoon. And inside it, something's breaking down and building up all at once. Something wild, something sacred, something real. You ever notice how people love to build cages for themselves and call it safety? Hilarious. They run around clutching their little dreams like brittle glass, terrified to drop them, scared to change course, because, oh no, what if they fail? What if they look stupid? What if it doesn't work? So they stay, stuck, frozen, wearing invisible chains and calling it stability. But here's the joke. Deep down, they know they're rotting in place. They smell the decay. They just put on more perfume and keep smiling for the audience. Bravo. Brilliant. A standing ovation for slow suicide dressed in polite routine. The path is calling, and it's not the one you've memorized. It's messy. It's crooked. It doesn't come with a GPS, but it's real. And real? Oh, real is terrifying. Real doesn't coddle your comfort zone. It doesn't flatter your fears. It doesn't hand you a map with guaranteed success stamped in gold. No. It whispers to you in moments of stillness when the fake laughs die down and the noise finally fades. That whisper, that's the new path. The one no one claps for. Yet. People think the call to change is going to sound like a choir of angels or some divine trumpet blasting in the sky. No, it's more like a twitch in your gut that won't shut up. A quiet pull when you're alone with your thoughts, that tiny voice that says, this isn't it. But instead of listening, most folks crank up the volume of their distractions. Scroll, swipe, click, post, numb, anything but feel. Anything but face the truth, that the life they've built is too small for the soul they've been hiding. So what do? They ignore the signs, the relationships that start feeling like shackles, the job that drains more than it gives, the dream that once fit like a glove but now feels like a straitjacket. They pretend not to notice, because if they admit the truth, they'll have to do something about it. And doing something, that's risky. That requires burning bridges, tearing down facades, walking away from applause. And most people, they're addicted to applause. They need it like oxygen. But applause doesn't mean alignment. Just because the crowd is cheering doesn't mean you're on the right stage. You want to know the punchline? The new path doesn't care about your image. It'll wreck everything you built out of fear just to rebuild you with faith. It'll strip you raw, no masks, no titles, no filters, just you, naked in purpose. And yeah, it'll hurt, because growing always does, but it's the kind of pain that frees you, like pulling glass out of your foot. Yeah, you'll bleed, but you'll finally walk again. And don't think for a second the new path is going to wait for your approval. It moves when it moves. It shakes things up whether you're ready or not. You'll start losing things that no longer serve you. People will ghost. Plans will crumble. The identity you clung to will crack like cheap porcelain. That's not punishment. That's pruning. Making space for the next version of you. The one that doesn't shrink to fit in rooms that were never meant to hold you. You'll think you're losing everything, but really, you're being stripped of everything false, because you can't carry your baggage through new doors. You can't step into destiny while dragging your dead self behind you. The new path demands lightness. It demands trust. It demands that you move even when the ground feels like quicksand. And most of all, it demands honesty. Brutal, blood-soaked honesty about what you want, about what's not working, about who you are when no one's watching. And here's the delicious part. Once you start walking it, people will think you've lost your mind. They'll whisper, judge, distance themselves. Why? Because your courage threatens their comfort. Your leap reminds them of their cage. And instead of flying with you, they'll try to clip your wings so they feel better about staying grounded. Don't take it personal. That's just fear doing its little dance. Keep walking, eyes forward. Burn the map if you have to. The path wasn't meant to be traced. It was meant to be blazed, with ash under your nails and laughter in your lungs. Not because it's easy, but because you finally stopped pretending that comfort was enough to satisfy a soul built for more. Isn't it funny, really, how people beg for signs, but run the second one shows up? They cry out, give me a clue, a direction, anything. But when the world tilts even slightly off script, they start screaming. Why is everything falling apart? Oh, how poetic. You ask for transformation and then tremble when the cocoon starts to crack. Everyone wants change, until it shows up uninvited, barefoot and grinning, knocking down doors you swore were locked forever. They think signs are gonna come wrapped in gold, polite and tidy. But the truth is, the biggest signs wear chaos like perfume. They don't announce themselves with courtesy. They rattle your routine. They push the wrong buttons. They show up dressed as heartbreak, betrayal, breakdowns, or even silence that stretches long enough to suffocate. But underneath all that discomfort, there it is, the signal, the divine tap on your shoulder that says, this way, not that one. But of course you're too busy cursing the storm to realize it's carrying your lifeboat. Oh, and the timing? That's the real comedy, isn't it? Because these signs never show up when you're ready. Nope, they come when your ego is inflated, your plans all tidy, your ducks in a neat little row, and then a detour, a closed door, a ghosted connection. You lose the job, the lover, the illusion, and suddenly you're sitting in the wreckage, laughing nervously, asking, "Is this a joke?" Oh yes, darling, but not the kind you think. It's divine comedy, a rewrite of your little script because your story was too small. And don't forget how people ignore the obvious, the gut feeling they keep swallowing, the dream that won't shut up no matter how much logic they drown it in, the synchronicities that practically scream, "Look here, wake up!" But they call it coincidence. Cute. The truth is, most people don't want signs. They want validation for staying the same. They want a gentle pat on the head and a divine blessing on their stagnation. Please tell me I can keep living like this and still fulfill my purpose. Ha. No, sweetheart. You don't get both. You can have comfort or growth. Never both. The sign isn't just the opportunity, it's the tension, the unease, the knowing that what you're doing isn't wrong, but it's no longer right either. That middle zone where your soul starts pacing, whispering that there's more, while your mind keeps shouting, "Don't be ungrateful, look how far you've come." But deep down, you know, and pretending not to feel it, that's the real suffering. That's what eats people alive. Not failure, not rejection, but the weight of the unlived truth pressing against their chest every damn day. But here's the twist. Signs don't just speak, they strip. They tear away the things you cling to. They remove the masks and force you to stare into mirrors you've been avoiding. It's messy, ugly even, but necessary, because nothing changes until something is lost. People want new beginnings without old endings. Sweetheart, that's not how rebirth works. You have to let the old self die. The version of you built on pleasing others, chasing false dreams and numbing the ache with noise, that one has to go. And the signs, they're here too. Help with the funeral. You don't need more proof, you need more courage. The signs are already there. They're in the conversations that don't excite you anymore, in the way your energy crashes after forcing yourself to stay, in the dreams that won't let you sleep. But courage, that's the rare stuff. That's what separates the ones who break free from the ones who decorate their cages and call it home. Most people will ignore the call, tuck themselves deeper under the covers and call it peace. But peace isn't the absence of chaos. It's alignment. And alignment, it often begins with disruption. See, the new path isn't waiting for your permission, it's happening. The signs don't stop just because you're scared. They'll get louder. Louder until you can't ignore them, until they burn through your distractions, until the fake smile cracks, until the job feels like a tomb, until pretending becomes more painful than risking it all. That's when people finally move, not because it's easy, but because staying becomes unbearable. That's when they say, "This can't be it," and finally mean it. And what's on the other side, that's the punchline. That's the part they don't tell you. Because no one can draw you a map to your own becoming. It's not a path, it's a plunge. A mad, laughing, trembling dive into the unknown with nothing but faith and fire in your eyes. The signs will keep coming, louder, closer, until the noise becomes a melody you can't ignore, pulling you towards something that terrifies and excites you in the same breath. Oh, so you think you're not qualified, huh? Not ready? Not worthy? Classic. It's always the ones with the most fire in their bones who doubt if they can handle the flame. Let me tell you something about qualified. That's a costume. A mask people wear to play pretend in a world built on paper crowns and empty applause. The truth is, the most dangerous, the most transformative, the most alive people, they weren't qualified either. They were cracked, messy, flawed, but they were willing to move while everyone else waited for permission that never comes. You think heaven is looking for perfect resumes? You think purpose checks your grades, your popularity, your polished little image before calling your name? Oh no, my friend. The ones who get chosen are the ones everyone else overlooked. The ones limping through the fire, the ones with shaking hands but stubborn hearts. The ones who keep going, not because they're ready, but because something inside won't shut up. That voice that whispers, more. There's more for you than this. That's not madness. That's the call. The call never goes to the most obvious. It doesn't knock on the loudest door. It shows up for the ones hiding in corners, questioning everything, praying silently for a sign. And the sign is this: it chose you anyway. It looked past the addiction, the broken relationships, the failures you wear like chains.